Well, hey, everybody, Mike Griffith here. Welcome to tonight's Ingles on the Beat show. Really excited about tonight's program. Man, I got a special guest. You're not going to believe it. Dick Vitale is going to join me for the second half of the show. First half, we're going to have a short first half. There wasn't a whole bunch of news to cover, but certainly there's enough for us to talk about. You know, I look at this Henry To'oTo'o transfer. I want to start there. Because it's not just Tennessee's best defensive player going to Alabama and, oh my gosh, here goes Nick Saban again. To me, this is kind of an example of the spirit of the rule going out the window. When we heard about the transfer portal, when Greg Sankey talked about it, listen, I got a ton of respect for Commissioner Greg Sankey. And I understood a few years back when I was at those spring meetings, I understood why Greg Sankey was saying, hey, look, I transferred schools. Sometimes your first school's not your best school. And you use that first person example. I remember Jeremy Pruitt was an advocate of this. Jeremy was a guy, started his career at Middle Tennessee State, went to Alabama, right? There's a lot of examples, you know, you look at, but the point I want to get to on this is the reason kids change schools, or the reason they say they want these one-time transfers to be approved, is if a kid's in a bad situation. It's not become that. Henry To'oTo'o was not in a bad situation. He was a star. He was a player that Tennessee had invested heavily in, that had recruited from California, that had put playing time in the field, that had recruited around, that had put in a leadership position. It wasn't like he was on the bench and didn't have a chance. It wasn't like he wasn't a big part of the program. And I use him as an example, and there'll be more. There'll be more players that you'll point to and say, why did this guy leave? He was a starter. He's just leading to improve his situation. Arkansas had a receiver, starting wide receiver. This guy's a great player. He's leaving, going to Oklahoma. Why are you doing that, man? I mean, you got a good situation in Arkansas. You're a starter. They want a better situation. It's the free agency part. Now, there are situations, circumstances you look at, and you try to give it a really close eye. I'm going to use Major Burns as an example. Most recently, Major went in the portal at Georgia. This one's a tough one for me. This one's a tough one because there is more to the story than just Major Burns wanting to go somewhere else. This is Major Burns having family in Louisiana and wanting to be closer. Like, this is a legit reason. Now, at the same time, Georgia is heavily invested in Major Burns. And for Major Burns' benefit, Major Burns is next man up at safety. Something happens to Lewis Seen or Chris Smith, next man up, Major Burns. So I'm a little concerned that, well, what's going to happen if Major Burns goes to, let's say he goes to LSU? Is he the next man up there? Is he going to have the same opportunity? And what if things don't work out? You've transferred once now. You don't get that one-time transfer again. So I'm a little concerned for what's best for Major, but that's a family decision. So I sit back on that one and I go, okay, this isn't a guy that was starting. This is a guy who does have family considerations. I think we all know Major's story at Georgia. Jeff Sentell told the story. He did lose his father before he came to Georgia. I mean, there's more to the story than just football here. And this is where you go, okay, I got to think about this one, right? So the portal and the reasons why kids are leaving, if Henry To'oTo'o would have gone back to California where he's from, I would have gone, well, yeah, going. But he's going from Knoxville to Tuscaloosa, man. That's free agency. I'm not a fan of football free agency. When we talk with Dick Vitale the second half of the show here tonight on Ingles on the Beat, we're going to get Dick Vitale's take on this because Dickie V, he was a coach and he's been an analyst for years and years. He's heard all the stories. He's been in every gym, and he's a guy I've got a lot of respect for. I've worked around Dick and with Dick. I had him on different shows. I got crossways with Dick once or twice, but I'll tell you, man, he's a champ. And I think you're going to see that tonight because I've never known Dick Vitale not to have a good interview. Now, he's kind of new with the Zoom, he's telling me. So I don't know what the Zoom's going to be like because he doesn't have all those ESPN production people around him. But when he joins us the second half, we're going to get some opinions. And I'm going to ask him about Tom Crean in Georgia. I'm gonna ask him about that. I want to find out if he thinks Georgia basketball to be doing better and what he thinks about Tom as a head coach, because I know there's been some feedback on that. But getting back to this transfer portal deal, the other thought I had was this: name, image, likeness. You saw that Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed that bill earlier this week in Athens. Late last week in Athens. And there was a provision that the schools in the state of Georgia could take up to 75%. Listen, that's not happening at the University of Georgia, though. Georgia has already said, we're not going to ask the kids to split name, image, likeness money. Now, the reason that provision was put in for some other schools was so that maybe they could split the money across the athletic department in some of the non-revenue sports. Maybe somebody, a sponsor wants to come along and have it dispersed that way. And the NCAA also has talked in their proposed thoughts and meetings about this, that they have some interest in how this money might be spread out a little bit, right? I know that one of the people at Georgia was saying, one of the Georgia politicians was saying, hey, you got to have guys that'll block for you too, right? If you're the running back or the star quarterback or whatnot. But just to be official now, Georgia has said they are not going to ask those kids to split NIL money. Now, this is supposed to take effect July 1st. It's still possible that there could be federal legislation that preempts it. That hasn't happened yet. But soon, very soon, July 1st, players. Now, I'll be interested to see how this looks. You all know that Georgia's hired a company to work with these kids and educate them on their social media, on their entrepreneurship strategies, and their background with money management. So there's a lot of things with college sports right now shaking out. It's moving so fast. And and we're still in this COVID thing, right? We're still dealing with COVID protocol issues everywhere. We're still not back to normal. There's going to be a new normal. I look around and I think about the last year and a half. I think about the last time I traveled on assignment. I flew to Indianapolis for the 2020 NFL Combine. And man, that seems like another lifetime ago. Everything's changed. This whole Zoom technology, this has become the norm for all of us. And how we deal with things and how we watch sports. And now the rule changes that are coming as well. Name, image, likeness, one-time transfer. It's not the same game that we once knew. And I don't know what the effects of that are going to be. What I do know is that September 4th, Georgia's playing Clemson in a football game that the drums are really starting to beat. Everybody's starting to talk about it. Social media is lighting up. I'm seeing the Clemson fans coming out after Kirby. All of a sudden, everybody coming after Kirby. I said, this is the way it is. When you're 45 years old and you've just got $170 million in facilities behind you, including an $80 million football building that Georgia's going to open up for these recruits in June, let me tell you, man, Kirby Smart has some people worried out there. And Clemson, they got some questions. They got to replace Trevor Lawrence. If DJAU can't step in there and Clemson falls off, they may not get back up, right? I don't know. I'm not ready to say that Dabo Swinney dominance is over. I got a lot of respect for Dabo. You guys know I covered Dabo. No Dabo. He's been good to me. I'm not ready to write off Clemson. But I'm going to tell you, Trevor Lawrence was a special guy, and he ain't there no more. And last time he wasn't there, they got it handed to him by Notre Dame. Notre Dame. With them, they beat Notre Dame 34-10, right? Without him, they get beat by Notre Dame. Just think about that. So Clemson's got some questions when they play Georgia in Charlotte on September 4th. One other thing I want to talk about before we get to our halftime Eagles break, and then on to Dick Vitale, the second half of the show. I want to talk about the expansion, the college football playoff expansion. Russ Dellinger of SI does a fantastic job. His getting some information that 8 of the 11 people want this expansion. Now, to me, it's not if, but when. We already know Kirby's ahead of the curve. You've looked at Georgia's future schedules. You see the UCLA's on there. You see the Oklahoma's on there. Listen, Kirby knows and Josh Brooks knows, the AD, what they're doing. Georgia's setting up a schedule that's made for an 8-game or more playoff. Okay, that schedule is not made for a 14 playoff. They're doing that because they recognize there's going to be a benefit to that schedule strength. Kirby's a planner, and Kirby being 45, he's going to be here for those games, right? I got questions about Saban. Now, listen, Nick Saban, I got a respect for him, but is he going to be here in 8 years? I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying, is he? Is he scheduling for himself or for the next guy? Because I feel sorry for the next guy because he ain't going to be Nick Saban. I can tell you that. And he's going to have much more difficult schedules than Nick Saban had to navigate these years that he's been at Alabama. Not taking anything away from him, just saying Crimson Tide schedules are going to be more difficult too. I admire Kirby for doing it because Kirby's going to be around, I believe, in coaching in a lot of these games. But one of the things to think about when you expand the playoff, I don't want to see the regular season watered down. Part of what makes college football so special for me is that every weekend really is a playoff of sorts, right? You can't say hard and fast if you lose, your season's done, because we've seen one team playoffs or one teams with one loss get into playoff. We've seen that before. But I don't want to see it be where teams with 3 losses get in and regularly. And I don't want to see a bunch of wild card teams. I want the conference championship games to matter. There's 5 Power 5 conference championship games. I believe those in and of themselves are playoffs. So even though you might say you got 8 at the end of the day, because I think that's where expansion's going, if you count those playoffs where there's a winner and the winner gets the automatic bid, those 5 teams that lost essentially were in a play-in game. So now you're up to 13. I want to see something done for the group of 5 as well. Cincinnati proved something to me. I know Georgia was missing, 5 or 6 guys. I can go down the line. They were missing their first-round cornerback, Eric Stokes. They were missing their third-round linebacker, Monty Rice. Their third-round offensive lineman, Ben Cleveland. A third-round tight end didn't play in that football game. Mark Webb, 7th-round safety, didn't play. Georgia was missing a lot of NFL guys, all right? And yet and still, I want to tip my cap to Cincinnati because I thought Cincinnati was legit. And in hindsight, they were more deserving than Notre Dame, which lost 34-10 to Clemson in the ACC title game and still got on. Man, that was wrong. The College Football Playoff Committee got that wrong. That was as wrong as Georgia not getting in 2018. That was wrong that Oklahoma got in ahead. You can't help it. You're going to have people with conflict of interest when you put together a committee. They may have the best intentions in the world, but folks, it is what it is. And there's a conflict of interest. If you work at a school and another school's success hurts you, you're going to go against them when it comes to giving them the benefit of the doubt because it has an effect on you. And you got to look at who's signing your paycheck. That's called loyalty, right? You can't have loyalty and also say there's not a conflict of interest. Which one is it going to be? It's just not realistic. Whether or not you expand the playoffs, which I think they will, you got to do something about the College Football Playoff Committee. I've got the utmost respect for Bill Hancock, by the way, the College Football Playoff Committee chairman. We've had Bill on the program. There's nobody more respected in college football, in my opinion, than Bill Hancock. He is a man that is truly trusted, but I think he's been handed a flawed system. And the only reason a lot of people go with it is because Bill Hancock brings that credibility. But I'm going to keep my ear to the ground because I know Bill talked recently about how they did listen to a committee about some different ideas. He's a smart guy. He's a man of the times. When it's time for the playoffs to expand, Bill Hancock will have a steady hand on the wheel, and I predict he'll make sure it's done right. I do think they've learned something from this College Football Playoff Committee. I believe that vehicle will change for how these teams are determined. That's why I want to see 5 automatics, right? I want to find a provision for the best group of 5 team to get in. I know you got to have some Notre Dame provision. They got their own network, NBC, the Notre Dame Broadcasting Company. I get it. Notre Dame is Notre Dame. I get it. I sort of get it. Doesn't mean I like it. But if they win 11 or 12, all right. Maybe they get an automatic bye or whatever, or put them in there with, maybe put them in with the group of 6. Maybe let Notre Dame play a group of 6 in a play-in game. That'll be their college football playoff, or put them up against an at-large in some sort of play-in, because the other thing you want is everybody have the same number of games. I don't think it's fair that Notre Dame doesn't have to play in a conference championship game, right? You saw what happened when they did, by the way. But I think teams should have to have a conference championship game. To me, that way you got an 18 playoff, but if everybody is playing in some sort of conference championship game or play-in game, what you really have is 16. You really have 16 games to get to the 18 playoff. If you can go with 5 Power 5 conference championship games, maybe 1 or 2 group of 5 play-ins, mix Notre Dame into that pool, and then maybe have a couple of at-larges. that play in some play-in. To me, that's what you got to have. Because what you don't want to have, you don't want to penalize the conference champions that play in a conference championship game and say, oh, this guy, this over here, this was wild card team. Because that's what happened in 2017. Alabama essentially got a bye. They benefited by not playing in the SEC championship game. That was one less game, Alabama. That wasn't right in hindsight, okay? So those are my thoughts on the college football playoff expansion. Some thoughts right there of the new bill that's being signed. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Josh Brooks, Georgia, going to try to do that right. But that vote on the college football playoff expansion, June 3rd, spring meetings. Not sure how we're going to get to cover that. I know it's not in person. I'm hoping they're going to give us some Zoom access. Listen, we need to take a halftime break here on the Ingles on the Beat program. When we come back, Dick Vitale, Dick's first ever appearance on Dog Nation, and I'm really looking forward to talking with him. I hope you enjoyed the segment. He always brings excitement. Not sure how this whole deal is going to go, but he's doing Zoom. He's doing it off his phone. So let's see how Dick's 81 years old. Let's see how he does it. So, Dick Vitale is a guy who has served college basketball for decades, literally 40 some years now, and holds a gala events that raise millions of dollars for cancer. And you think about people that go all out in support and get things done to help their fellow man, right? That's what Dick Vitale does. You know who else does that? Ingles, right? Ingles, frontline workers when we were going through the pandemic, people that put themselves out there to continue the supplies, to continue to support us as we work to support our families. I want to take this halftime break. I want to thank Ingles. When we come back, Dick Vitale joins us. But for now, let's listen to a word from our sponsor, Ingles.
It's in our hearts to feel for real. There's been ups and downs, turnarounds, good days and some bad. But we stand together for worse and for better. We'll always have your back with open arms, heart to heart, hand in hand. Community strong.
Well, as promised, now we're joined by ESPN's Dickie V. Dick Vitale joins us here, and so glad that you could make it, Dick, and congratulations on another wonderful weekend. Saw your gala raised over $6 million now. I believe that's $44 million for the V Foundation Pediatric Cancer Research. Congratulations on your great work.
Well, really a lot of people. I got a great team. My team really worked hard. Mike, it was really tough this year. We're dealing with a pandemic. We're dealing with COVID-19. They restricted us because of the situation with the pandemic. We couldn't sell out our normal 1,000. We usually get 1,000 people sell it out at the Ritz-Carlton Ballroom, beautiful resort, but they were limited to 500 because we had a space and do all the things that you got to do to battle this disease in terms of social distancing. So we spread the tables out, but we had 500 beautiful people, and we had a lot of big-time celebrities join us. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was just amazing. When you think about Bruce Arians, we had champs in the room. I talk about champs. We had Scott Drew Baylor. He won a championship. We had Lou Holtz. He's won some championships. Muffet McGraw won multiple women's titles. We had Bruce Arians, Super Bowl champ. Jason Light, his GM, was with us. The president of the Bucks was with us. It was just a magnificent night. But most of all, the real winners, and Tom will tell you when you speak to them, the kids. We have my all courageous team, and we have about 12 youngsters. We have one youngster I spoke about to the crowd because I get to know these kids. I've gotten to know them. It's not just a one-time deal. They've been with me, some of them 5, 6, 7 years at the gala, battling this dreaded disease. And I'll be honest with you, Mike, at the press conference, I couldn't hold it in. We had a big press conference. Scott Van Pelt was terrific. It was unbelievable. So was Muffin, and you mentioned Mullen was great, and so was Bruce, was off the charts. Pearl, he had people there. Several Auburn boosters were there, all donated 6 figures. 6 figures. I mean, multiple guys. We had at least, I know of 3 Auburn people, might have been more, raised their hand and donated 100,000 each of them. It's so touching. I said, talk about courage. I'll give you some courage. I made a kid stand, Weston Herman, 14 years old. He's in his 4th battle with brain cancer, 4 times. He's had 2 brain surgeries, and he's a terrific, Mike, off the charts hockey player. This kid, what ability. And the first time I got to meet him was 10 years old. I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating with my wife, and one of my buddies was with me. We were at the Captain Grill. And all of a sudden, this beautiful couple walks in and he stopped at my table and he said, Dickie V, I want to thank you, man, because what you're doing for kids affects us. Our son, Weston, has brain cancer. And I liked them. Something about them, you liked them right away. I said, sit down and join me. And I shared this story when I spoke to the crowd. About 40 minutes into it, his father takes out an iPhone. He says, I got to show you this. Take a look at my guy, Weston, 10 years old. I couldn't believe what I was watching in hockey. His quickness, his explosiveness, his touch. It blew me away. He's playing against older kids, scoring that well. So we get in the car. I'm very good friends with the coach of the Lightning, John Cooper. So I tell my wife, get Cooper on the phone for me while I'm driving. So I get him on the phone. I said, John, I just met this kid, his father. The kid's got brain cancer. And I said, you can't believe his skills. Do me a favor. I said, I want a wet Lightning shirt, number 1, Weston on the back, his name. I want to surprise him with it. John Cooper's one of the greatest coaches. Never forgot where he came from. He says to me, come on, man, I can do better than that, Dick. Bring him up and let him skate with Stamkos and skate with all the players.
Wow.
Mike, you talk about a thrill, and they practically have adopted him since. And now he's in his 4th battle. When his father called me up earlier this year and said, I get some bad news. I can't believe it because he's doing so well. He's 3 years in remission. We went for a quarterly test, and they said the cancer's come back. And he has to go 52 weeks of chemo. And he said about 3 months ago, I guess it was 4 months ago, he called me up. He said, he told the doctor after he did chemo, I'm playing hockey tonight. And the doctor said, play hockey? I ain't going to play hockey tonight. I'm playing hockey. Father told me, Jared, a great guy, called me up. He says, he's throwing up in the car. He's throwing up on the lawn. He said, he's in our house putting his hockey uniform and goes to play. They made the papers. And I sent it to everybody. And I couldn't believe it. He scored 3 goals, 2 assists. And here's the kid. Talk about courage. So I took the Arians, I said, how would you like to have him on the Bucks team, man? Talk about toughness. Then we had another youngster, Joshua Fisher. Beautiful, good-looking kid. 1,250 doses of chemo, 13 years old. And smiling. And we had a girl from your area, right down there. Her name is Makari Tarpley. She came by the way of a football guy playing in the NFL, Rob Robertson, called me about her. She used to tour. She toured with Disney, was one of the stars of Lion King, touring all over. And at 14, she came down with Hodgkin's disease and obviously doing all the chemo and all. And I contacted her. And she came with her mom and dad as one of my more courageous kids. Oh, my God. You just see her electrify the crowd by my house. The next day, we have a post-gala celebration. She asked if she could sing. I said, God, do it. The place could not believe it. We had an agent here, Mike. We had a big-time agent at the event. He comes running over to me. He says, hey, I got to get her my email address, man. Oh, she's so good. An African-American girl that just had such style, just tremendous person, tremendous, great mom and dad. And so we have a magical event. And I think when people see the real thing, see these are normal kids. Mike, as you and I, as I told the crowd, I said, well, we're here today celebrating. We're having a great time raising a lot of money. You know what? Every day, 45 to 50 mothers and fathers are going home and they're hearing 4 words that no mom and dad ever wants to hear. Your child has cancer. And as a woman told me, the reason I got so, at the press conference, I'm telling you, I lost it, Mike. I lost it for 2 reasons. One reason, one of the parents there told me, please give my little child a hug because I don't know if he's going to be here next year. And then another mother told me, she said, when you get the word that your child has cancer, I never thought of it like this. She said, it's a life sentence. It's a lifetime. You got a life sentence now. It affects the families. Every time they tell you, these kids, I get to know them, their families tell me, as soon as they get a fever or a cold or something, a headache, what's the first thought? Oh, my God, please don't tell me it's coming back. So, Mike, we've done that. And we're going to talk a little basketball here, too. But it's been probably, I've been blessed. I'm in 14 Hall of Fames. I can't run. I can't jump. I can't shoot. I got a body by Linguini. But I'm there because all my life I've tried to have passion, pride, and be good to people. And one thing I wrapped up in my speech with them, I said, you know what our nation needs? What this room is about. This room is filled with love, LOVE. We have too much hate, man. I said, we got to all unite, black, white, rich, poor, Christian, Jewish, Muslim. It doesn't matter. We got to unite and need more love. I said, my mom taught me, and I'm telling you exactly what I said there. My mom taught me, and I do this in my motivational speaking because it's so true. My mother and father weren't educated. Didn't have a formal education, but they had a doctorate of love. And she'd always tell me, my mom and dad, all the time, Richie was never Dick. I lost my eye as a kid. I thought it was the end of the world. So, Richie, big deal. I don't want to hear about can't. You have one eye, big deal. You can do what you want to be, and you can be somebody. You got a lot of energy, enthusiasm. Don't let that stop you. And then she would always tell me, he would say, Mike, Richie, treat people how you want to be treated. And if you do that, you'll really have a lot of good fun. People have been so nice to me. I mean, really, people have been great. And it's just, this is my way. I mean, I can't believe people come up to me all the time. Come on, I read in the paper you're 81 years old. There's no way you're 81 years old. But I am. And I can't stop that clock. And my clock is running. And I'm in the last chapter probably. And I want to make it the best.
Well, you have, man. I'll tell you, Dick, I've read your book. It's fantastic. The work you do championing people, whether it's basketball, certainly what you've done for cancer research, raising this money for these children and their parents, helping them have better lives, giving them a better opportunity, man. You can't ask for more than that. And certainly the success that you've had, you've really made it count. It's about the people with you. And when you do your broadcast, everywhere you go, that's the show. I know a lot of people celebrate Dick Vitale, but part of the reason they celebrate you, Dick, is because of the way you champion other people in these markets and these games that you go to. And certainly the way that you've represented yourself, helping to raise these funds for the cancer research at your annual galas. This is incredible. And I really thank you for telling that part of the story. That is awesome. And that's one of the things you get when we talk with Dick Vitale. This is a man of the people. This is a man that cares about the people around him and serves them. And I don't know what more you could ask of any celebrity. So you thank your fans, and I know your fans thank you as well, Dick. Certainly we appreciate you joining us here to talk about basketball because, things have been a little different now. We had that horrible cancellation last year. We were all dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We all are to this day, to some extent. Thank goodness we were able to have a basketball tournament. But hey, man, I had you on here to talk about Georgia basketball. I've been down here a few years now, and you know me, I've covered Tennessee and Michigan State, been down there in Alabama and Auburn. And I guess I want to get your perspective as someone who's covered the nation. Georgia's only won one regular season title in the SEC, Dick, and two SEC tournaments. And I look at this place and I go, now, why is this? You've been to Stegman Coliseum. You've been to the state. What do you think the issue is with Georgia basketball? What are your thoughts on Georgia basketball?
Well, first of all, I thought they hit a home run when they hired Tom Crean. I love his energy, his enthusiasm. People forget I read an article you wrote and you documented it. Can a guy coach? Come on, man. He took Marquette to the Final Four. He beat a Kentucky team that year with D. Wade. That was unbelievable. I think, I may be wrong, Kentucky might have had one loss, I think, at the time, or maybe no losses. But it was a great Kentucky team, knocked them out to go to the Final Four. He did an amazing job at Indiana. Came at Indiana in a tough situation. Came there when there were NCAA problems, the whole bit. And he won in several Big Ten titles, the toughest of the Big Ten. He beat Kentucky one year in the NCAA tournament to advance. I mean, the guy can coach. Anybody who doesn't think he can coach is out of their mind. One of the problems right now in the SEC is the talent level in the certain play like Kentucky. You talk about winning the SEC. Well, they almost win it regularly. So you're dealing there with that. Then you had Florida's come on strong. And now you got Tennessee, and you got Auburn, and you got LSU, and right down the line. So it's very, very difficult. And I think one of the tough things, and I know he's working harder than hell to try and get it done, is trying to keep those kids in Georgia. Why so many of them don't think they should play at the state university? To me, you got to turn that baby around. When I went to Detroit when I told this, you're not going to get kids here to try to Michigan. I don't buy that. I never believe in camp because my mother taught me that. And we went out and we got guys that became NBA players. John Long, Terry Tyler, Terry Durant, or Curitin became with us. Bottom line is you got to get those star players. And if you can break that barrier and get one or two to start it rolling, and that's been something that's not happened. And now you're compounded with this unbelievable wackiness of this transfer portal. I mean, come on. It has taken this. I was telling someone before I did your interview, I was on another radio show, and they were asking about it. And I said, well, put it in perspective. You know, between my gal, I'm staying on top of stuff because I'm probably going to do a new book. I can't believe it. Once the writer wrote, he's joking around. He put his columns. I said, I think if he's got 6 books, that's probably 6 more than he ever read. And he says he's right, except now it's like 13 books. And it'll probably be 14. But the bottom line is, one of the things I'm going to talk about change. The change now with the portal, Mike, there's 1,500. The people hear me here, 1,500 kids in the portal. Well, you don't have to go to Harvard to figure it out or Yale. If you got 350 teams playing approximately Division I basketball, that's like 5 players a team. What was put in, Mike, was really with intent to do something positive, to allow kids to transfer who maybe are unhappy because they're not getting playing time, and they leave and they go somewhere, let them play right away. But you know what's happened? The wheeling and dealing, and the coaches I've been talking to, and I mean multiple coaches, they say coaches are operating behind the scenes, getting words out to AAU guys, to high school guys, to whoever their runners are. Hey, tell him if he puts his name in a portal, we're going to go after him. So what you have now, you get the stars of all the teams. I mean, I saw with Syracuse University, ready for this? The women's team, 11 players transfer, well, 11. 11. Come on, that's not the intent. How the NCAA could sit back and tell me this is good for basketball is crazy. Just like, I don't know how they could sit back. And you're going to get me fired up on this stuff. How they could sit back, Mike, and tell me in 5 years, the school's being charged. I had a coach today talk to me. I'm not going to mention the school's name. People can use their own intent. They're signing great players. Well, the school's been charged with numerous violations, allegations galore. We have a number of schools, this is public information, number of schools that have had allegations come their way and charges almost 5 years ago and no decisions made. Your coaches still operate, getting players, taking away players from schools that maybe would get those kids if a penalty. When the bottom line is, whether it's innocent or guilt, if you can't make a decision as an organization in 2 years, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. We're going in the 5th year from when that FBI investigation came out. Coaches talking about buying players on tape. Come on, give me a break.
It's unbelievable. And you're right. It does kind of unbalance the playing field. And, to your point, we look at what Tom Crean's trying to do at Georgia, and it's tough. These are choppy waters. These are shark-infested waters, to your point. Certainly, Dick, there's some tremendous talent that comes out of Atlanta. And while that benefits Georgia, that's also one of the most heavily recruited cities in the country because they do have such fantastic AAU basketball. So that's the kind of the good news, bad news is, there's a lot of talent, but because there's a lot of talent, it attracts everyone. And so that means good and bad, and it's very difficult for Tom Crean. But I look at what he's done with the offense. And like I said, you've done a lot of basketball. You've done every game, every week. Actually, there's not a gym you haven't. There's probably not a gym you haven't been in. But the way he coaches offensive basketball, Dick, I get the feeling that this isn't what Tom Crean wants. I'm going to be clear on that. I've talked to him. He's not a fan of this multiple portal. He likes the kids to have rights, but he doesn't want to see 5 and 6 and 7 guys coming and going every year. But the way this is built and the way he coaches, I'm thinking Tom Crean could be a guy that can thrive putting teams together quickly because of his experience in Indiana, because what you saw him do at Georgia with a better record each of the last 3 years.
Well, I'm hoping they make an adjustment with this rule situation. Look at the numbers. The numbers, one of the big cries you get, well, coaches leave, right? And they go out and they coach immediately. Well, Mike, you solve that in 1 second. You have to be a genius. I'm a dummy and I can solve that. Now, I'll tell you how you solve it. Very simple. First of all, that argument is ridiculous because it's not apples to apples. You got 1,500 players. You don't have 1,500 coaches transferred or going losing jobs, 30, 40, 50 a year for most. Bottom line is, so here's the thing, you put a little stipulation. If a coach is fired or if a coach leaves, those players on that team, they have the right to go and play immediately. So that argument's history. But I think what they've opened up is not only the Pandora with breaking up rosters, I think cheating behind the scenes, I think wheeling and dealing behind the scenes. It is ugly.
No question. No question.
You know, what is wrong? Let me ask this, Mike, as well. What is wrong with a kid learning in life? That, in life, you don't just get up and leave every situation. Come on, you just don't do that. I mean, life is you get a job, you got to battle through it. The tough times, illnesses at home. You're teaching kids the wrong values. Then what about loyalty? Does that ever enter the picture? Loyalty, dedication to someone, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, here's kids going, we got kids, ready for this? I don't remember the name now, it's slipping me. I think it was Moore, I'm not sure. Started his career off in California. Then he transferred, went to Kansas. Didn't get to play like he thought he would at Kansas, so he went to DePaul. And now I just read he's transferring again to Miami. Is that what college is supposed to be, athletics? Come on. Is that, I don't understand. I believe in giving kids freedom. Yeah, you got a freedom. And let's look this way. In the NBA, can you, other than the star players, when they say we want to move, players, you sign a contract, man. That's part of the deal. You got to stay there. You got to honor it. You got to, unless you're a great, great player, then you make demands. We're not going to re-up, and they put you in a position where they make you have to make the move and get rid of them. But the bottom line is, life is you sign a contract to work with a corporation. All right, let's say in television, I signed a contract with ESPN, which I did just recently. I got multiple years left on my deal, 3 years. I just can't get up and say I'm going to go. I'm screwed up. I'm going with CBS or I'm going here, there. I mean, that's not life. So what is wrong? Mark Few said it to me once, and he said it really well. I've had kids transfer. They're unhappy a little bit of playing time. They sit the year out. They re-energize. They work on their game. They get better at what they do. They get their steady habits going, come back, and they ended up going to the NBA. I mean, sometimes that transfer is good for that kid. I'm not saying, look, transfer sometimes is a good thing for a kid. Just like sometimes in marriage, Mike. Sometimes in marriage, I'm going to my 50th year with my wife on May 22nd. But I'm just saying this. Sometimes in marriage, though, a divorce is best for both parties, for the whole group to move on. I'm not saying that is wrong, but I'm saying what's happening now is wrong. 1,500. Come on, that's sickening.
Yeah, 1,570 as of today. They got a tracker on it. I want to ask you about name, image, likeness, Dick. We're just starting to wade into it. I know there's a lot of questions in terms of how it's going to go down, but it seems like it's going to happen with different states. I know Florida, Georgia signed a bill. Do you think this could stabilize kids a little bit if they get this name, image, likeness deal at the school that they're at? Maybe this will, make them want to stick around because they have this deal in place. Is this a good thing for players? And do you think maybe players will learn that? I mean, obviously there's a handful of your diaper dandies, as you like to call them, the guys that come out that everybody knows about. But most of the kids, I don't think most of the kids are going to get the kind of name, image, likeness deal that maybe they think they might.
Well, it's going to be mostly some of the star players. I think the monitoring, I have no problem with them now with all the dollars being made. I mean, coaches are making big time dollars. We make in television, we make a pretty good living. You get down there, the guys in the NCAA, the higher ups, Emmett and them, they do fairly well. I have no problem. We're in a new era. I remember when you played the Olympics, it was all amateur, no money. Now they pay them. So I have no problem. Now, only question I have, and it's a big question, how do you monitor this and how do you determine? I mean, one school, you can't give a carte blanche. I mean, you'll have whatever, if you say, well, whatever school wants to get, I mean, that'd be crazy. So I don't know how they're going to come to the realization of making this work effectively. I think it's a good idea. I think kids should. For example, if a kid wanted to come to my gala and somebody wanted to sponsor them to come to the gala, why not? What's wrong with that? What about if a superstar kid, his jersey, get some money off his jersey? Why not? I think some of the rules we have are so archaic, they're crazy. But the bottom line is, I think now you're going to really, they're going to hire they're going to have to hire a lot more investigators, man, to be on top of what's going on. Because you're opening up a door that's going to be really unique.
Yeah, a lot more lawyers, Dick. Hey, listen, man, I've taken a lot of your time. I want to thank you for coming on here and giving us some perspective on your thoughts on the transfer portal, your thoughts on the NIL and Coach Crean and what's happening at Georgia. He's going into year 4 and a guy you've known and covered a long time. I remember seeing you at those Michigan State, Indiana battles. You were calling the games, man. And, I'll say this, and I think that everybody that's watching here on our AJC Dog Nation channel knows it. When Dick Vitale is in the house, we know it's a special game. You still carry that. Or I guess I would ask you, Dick, before you go, do you have any favorite arenas or favorite games? Because, man, I know you've done thousands of them. But when I say favorites and things you like, what stands out to you?
Well, it's always a thrill going down to Rupp Arena, the pageantry, the passion they have down there, almost to a fault sometimes because they just go crazy when they lose. Oh, my God, you got to watch out. They buy a lot of Maalox, man. A lot of those Pepto-Bismol gets rolling when they're losing. But I'll tell you this, that's a beautiful place, passionate fans. Go in that small arena right on top of the court, the enthusiasm, the energy, the Cameron Crazies, certainly Kansas, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk. You walk in there, you goosebumps the way they start to chant Rock Chalk, Jayhawk. And there's been so many places that it's just so special. Michigan State, time is always the zone. Great. But let me tell you about Tom Crean, one of the greatest games I ever did. And I'm doing this now. Let me think, 42 years in the bank. My goal is to work till I'm 100. People are laughing at me. Don't bet against me. I only got 18 more years to go. What's 18 years? I had 18 more shots. So anyway, bottom line is I did the game. Kentucky came in number 1. Kentucky came in with that great team with Anthony Davis and all those superstars. They were number 1, undefeated. And Tom Crean had his kids fired up. Oh, I was in his office before the game, a couple hours before. And I said, man, you are really, he's Dick. Dick, we're gonna play today. We're gonna play. I can tell you, my kids are so practiced today. And they played. They won a game on the kid Watford. Hits a jumper to win the game at the buzzer. Dan Schumann and I, it was just a magical moment. That place was rocking. There's never been doubt in my mind. I covered his games against Louisville, great matchups when he was at Marquette, when they go head-to-head with Louisville in their conference. And I tell you one thing, there was never doubt. Watch him in practice teaching. His intensity is contagious. But the bottom line is, and I know, the key in the game of college basketball, you can coach all you want. It's about players. You got to get players. And you can't just, some of these schools are getting just incredible talent. I know when I went to the NBA, I got fired. I got fired my second year. I got the Ziggy. I was called the Ziggy. 12 games into my second year. And I was the reason I got fired. The owner treated me like royalty, but I couldn't handle the losing. It just crushed me. And it'd say to me, Dick, we know it's a 5-year deal. At least you want to get it done right away. So I don't care about that, man. 5 years. I want to win now. Are you kidding me? I didn't lose all my life. Won high school state championships. I go to Rutgers. They said we couldn't get recruits. We ended up in the best recruiting class in the country, and they went to the Final Four. A lot of people don't notice. 1976 named the Final Four. You had UCLA. You had Michigan. You had the shy, introverted Bob Knight at Indiana with their unbeaten team. And you had Rutgers. Rutgers was the fourth school. We recruited Phil Sellers, Mike Dabney, because I never believed in Kent. I go to Detroit. They tell me, oh, you can't get these kids, Michigan State. Well, we won 21 in a row my last year. At one time, we beat Marquette in February in Milwaukee. And 2 months later, they won the national title. We go to the Sweet 16, and we go to the last minute. We get beat by the number 1 team in the country, which was Michigan. And we get beat in the last minute, or else I think we could win that game. We had a chance to win a national title. But my kids felt we could beat Marquette. We did them on their floor, and we were good. My point I'm making, I got players. You can't just do it without players. And right now, the the level of talent he has does not come up with the level what's going to Auburn and going to Kentucky and going to Tennessee and those places. Tom can flat out coach. If he gets a little lucky in recruiting, they will see a masterpiece because he can coach. He can put people together, and he does things the right way. You don't hear his name being mentioned with allegations and things of that nature. Tom is a good guy. His wife, Joni, and I think that when they hired him, I'm going to be honest with you, I thought Georgia definitely hit a slam dunk. I really did. And I get upset when I read people say, he can't coach, he can't. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He's just a little bit in a bad cycle right now in terms of player personnel.
Yeah. Well, man, I'll tell you what, like I said, you've seen it all. I've had you cover games I've covered, and I've seen you from every angle, Dick. Like I said, I'm always excited when I see the assignments and when I know you're there because I know it's a big game. The crowd gets into it when you're there. It just enhances the whole environment, man. So you're doing a lot right. And what you said at the beginning, how you're raising this money at the galas. I mean, to me, that's the icing on the cake, man. Not only are you an entertainer and an informer for the sport of basketball, but a humanitarian. And I can't thank you enough for the example that you set. You really set the bar, Dick, for a lot of these guys that are in their business, and the way you give back is just, it's incredible. I can't thank you enough for your efforts.
You know, I feel giving back should be a normal thing. I mean, I've lived a life that's exceeded any dream for me. And when I look at the home I live in, the places I go, so why not? The game has been so good to me. But Mike, let me just say this in closing with you. You've been prepared. I can tell, man, you know your stuff, you're prepared. So if I'm on TV right now, Mike, I would be saying, my guy, Mike Griffin, are you kidding me? He's a PTP. He's prime time performer, man. He's a big timer. There's no doubt about it. And then you talk about Mike, he's the 3S man. He's super, scintillating, sensational, and he's solid gold. And most of all, he is awesome, baby, with a capital A. You keep giving your opinions and give them, and don't let these people who don't know. That's the one thing with Twitter and social media. We got 99% people are good, but there's a group there, no matter what they are, who they are, they want to take shots and rip people, bury people, and knock people down. And you know what? We just got to let that go and just go on and do your job. And that's what I told Tom, too. Just do what you do, my friend. Just go out there, keep working and working. And I'm telling you, I don't like the idea what we have with the transfer portal. I think it is absolutely ridiculous. I believe in giving kids freedom, but this is beyond freedom. This is beyond freedom. When you got stars, it's like free agency. It's like go wherever you want. Don't worry about loyalty. Oh, really? That coach recruited you, told you, he put you in a lineup. Yeah, guys play 30 minutes, score big. I mean, you're going to see some kids wishing they didn't make their moves. I'm looking at some of those rosters that are being formed. Some of these guys who maybe were stars where they're at now, they may end up sitting on the pine and say, what did I do?
No doubt, Dick. Man, the one and only Dick. And I have the book, the Timeout Baby book. I know you've written a dozen of them, but that's the one that I read, and the bio, and it's fantastic. Your story. So many folks, they only know you from the sideline, but they need to read that book. It's out there. They can read about your life, your bio, what made you who you are, because that is one incredible story, Dick. Keep up the great work, man, and I'm going to stay in touch because your opinions are invaluable.
Well, tell people just go to dickvitale.com and they can get any merchandise and anything they buy, whether they're in my books, my latest book, The Lost Season, anything they buy, hats, basketballs, every dollar, Mike, not 60 cents, not 70 cents. Every dollar that I would make, a check goes to the V Foundation for kids. That is awesome. All right, buddy, I got to get a TO, baby.
Awesome, Dick. Thank you so much for joining us. Dick Vitale, everybody. The one and only. Wow. And weren't we fortunate to have Dick on the program tonight? I told you we would have Dick. He came along, told a great story, gave us some great background and some great insight as to where college basketball is going. Hey, everybody, I want to thank everybody from Ingles for doing the show tonight. Have a great week. I'll see you later on.